You know what I like to do?
Talk into a microphone?
Yeah, and also get in on the action with sports
Have a big
interaction.
head.
Yeah. Wear bare feet in the freezing cold.
Be a dad.
Friggin' wear V-necks that are actually
It's not a
crew-necks.
V-neck, okay?
Sorry.
Sports interaction. NHL, NBA, MLB, so much more. It's the friend I don't have, clearly. Crazy Odds, best live and play. Download the app in Ontario. You can use the QR code at the bottom of the screen, or you can head to sportsinteraction.com/STPN to get started. 19 plus, please play responsibly and get better friends.
Yell at the computer. He does that too.
There's just something missing there. They need a shock. Like, to me, there is no option to bring back the Big Four.
I want to...
Zero option. I know we don't want to go into that just yet,
Yeah.
but the fact that Kyle Dubas finally has said that publicly, to me, that's worthy of an extension right there, because I believe in his ability as a GM. He gets a lot of business done. There's a lot of GMs that sit up there on their media days and say it's hard to make trades and it's hard to do.
He's never... Yeah, I mean, I guess he said it, but it's not like it's...
But like, he hasn't lived it.
Right.
I mean, look at the Leafs team in this year's playoffs. It was basically half a roster overturned from the previous season. And just based on their contractual situations right now, it's going to be half a roster turned over again this summer. And so I think he's done a marvelous job of pivoting and trying to find new ways. And I would still trust him with the Rubik's Cube, but now we have a new dynamic. Like, is he up to the job? I think that there's a reason to question that after Monday.
The press conference changed very sharply. And it was with your question, but it also wasn't. Because you asked him, do you remember the exact question?
So he had mentioned in his opening remarks, he just kind of quickly, he said something along the lines of, and I'm obviously paraphrasing, that as for my own situation, I've got a great relationship with the owners and Brendan Shanahan. I'll talk to them later in the week. Most importantly, I'm going to speak with my wife Shannon tonight and tomorrow. We have a family decision to make, and kind of left it at that. And so that was all he kind of said initially. And it just struck me like, okay, that's new. And so I said something, Kyle, with respect, I respect that this is a family and business aspect to this, but do you still want to do the job?
Yeah.
Can I play it?
Sure.
Oh,
I think it might be helpful.
Let's see how good my memory is.
Yeah, let's test it.
There's a moment where he kind of goes rogue, is why I'm asking.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just address it off the top. Had a good, long relationship here with Brendan and the owners. I'll speak to them in the coming days, but probably more importantly, speak to my wife Shannon and our family here in tonight and tomorrow, and see where we're at as a family and how we want to proceed with everything. This has been and just in learning the past couple of days, has been a very taxing year on them. And that's obviously very important to me. So we'll go through all that and
Make our decisions.
we'll all make our decisions and roll from there.
Hey, Kyle, recognizing what you said about there being a family and business aspect to your decision with your future, I'm just wondering, though, do you still have it in you? Do you want to be here? Do you want to still run the Maple Leafs?
What I would say to that is that I think it requires me to have a full family discussion, Chris. So I can't. My family is a hugely important part of what I do. So for me to commit to anything without having a fuller understanding of what this year took on them is probably unfair for me to answer where I'm at. I wish I could give you more, but we haven't been able to have those full discussions yet. But it was a very hard year on them. And thus, it's tough for me to... What I would say is that I'm not going to... I definitely don't have it in me to go anywhere else. So it'll either be here or it'll be taking time to recalibrate, reflect on the seasons here. But you won't see me next week pop up elsewhere. I can't put them through that after this year.
You see what I mean? He started to answer your question, answered it, and then re-answered it differently. You know what I mean? Like, it's almost like he went off script a little bit, and I want to know what it was like for you in that moment, because I get tunnel vision in press conferences.
Well, it was emotional. You can you can hear it in his voice.
Yeah.
You know, I've seen some people commentate out there, just speculate like that this was some sort of power play or something. Like I don't see that at all. You know, I know Kyle a little bit professionally, of course. You know, I've dealt with him for years. We're not friends or anything like that, but like he's an authentic guy. And I see an authentic answer there. It's clear he's wrestling with this decision. And when we step back, you know, what's hard, and I've spoken to a lot of people around the NHL since this press conference. There's a lot of people out there that believe that the Leafs can't bring him back after saying that.
Why is that?
Wow.
I'm not saying, I'm not saying I necessarily agree, but I can start to hear the point. The point that some have made to me essentially is now when we move forward, let's say they bring him back, just for argument's sake. There could be questions. Like, is he mentally, can he handle the rigors of the job? It's a damn hard job. I don't think anyone would question that. No matter what you think of his moves or anything else, I don't think anyone would say like, it's a great job. It's a cool job, but nobody works harder than him in their organization. I don't believe. Second is, you know, if things go wrong in the future, if he comes back, will people say, well, maybe he's took his foot off the pedal a little bit. You know, we saw how hard it was on his family. Like maybe he can't do all the things that's required of him. I just think it opens the door. And some of those are narratives, of course, but narratives matter, right? That's why they script this friggin' day. If everyone just went up and said what they thought in the microphone all the time, it would be absolute chaos.
Yeah. Who would do that?
We kind of have, you mentioned his contract situation before and how it played out last summer. And because Larry Tannenbaum went to the board and proposed that they give him an extension. We kind of know this is public information. And Rogers and Bell kind of said, no, we'll play out the year. And now this happens where they're kind of surprised by Kyle Dubas going up there and saying all this. And I wonder what their reaction to this would be. And if that leads them to not necessarily rescind whatever contract was coming, but have even more second thoughts about Kyle Dubas as general manager.
It's left them with more questions, right? I mean, I don't think there's any question about that. I believe that basically what we heard in that clip you just played was new information to Kyle's bosses too. And so I think that they're left asking, like, is he up for it? You know, did this season crack him in some way? Is he just burnt out? I mean, I don't have those answers, but we've all watched Kyle speak a lot. That was out of character, right? And I think on a human level, we can be sympathetic, but on a professional, pro sports is a gruesome business. If you're not good enough anymore as a player, it doesn't matter what you've done in the past, you're gone, right? If you're not performing up to your contract, you can be bought out and working in the media next day instead of playing on the ice. And
that would suck.
Awful as it is to say, if you're in Kyle's shoes, even as great a job as, and I've been a big supporter of his, I've been consistent. I think the Leafs should have extended him. I would believe in him, and I think he's ultimately going to be one of the best executives in the league, if he isn't already, over time, whether he has to go somewhere else to do it or not. But if you're not up to the task right now in Toronto, because this is a big friggin' task, they might have to move on without him. I don't know how that's going to play out, and this could be dated by the time you're hearing this, because I think there's a real pressure to get finality on this situation right away, because there's a lot of other business to get done.
What's the deadline here?
Well, I thought it was Tuesday, and we're recording on Wednesday.
So how far down the road, like how done is this extension? Like if
there's
you're
probably always
today,
wiggle room. Like, you know.
So they've offered it to him. He has it in hand.
They've worked on an extension. I know that.
And he's reciprocated on that.
As far as I know, yes. But I mean, look, let's take his words. He's got to have a family discussion. Like, he doesn't even know if he wants to do an extension now, based on those words, based on his family. I mean, I don't know what. Obviously, I'm not privy to what's being discussed inside his house, but you know, the key part of that too, if you guys heard in his opening remark, and I missed it actually in real time, but heard it when I listened back. He said in the last few days he's learned how taxing this season was on his family, and so you know what that tells me is that he's had certain conversations. I don't know if that's with his wife Shannon or someone else close to him, but he's had conversations basically since the season ended that maybe gave some new information or new light to his situation, and so. If it is that, you know, if I'm reading him, taking him literally on those comments, you know, he's got a big decision to make, and a lot's happened here, right? I mean, he was supposed to, Game 7 would have been last night, right?
Oh man.
I don't
but I'm
know,
just-
man.
Thanks.
Actually, you're right.
But I'm just saying, like, it's not long from, fighting to try to keep the season long, doing everything you can with the team. You lose. You got to, he has to meet with ownership. He's preparing for his locker meetings. And then obviously, and then obviously he's having conversations with his family in which, it sounds like something was brought up about whether or not he continues on or the weight that they've had to bear and all this. So, I mean, it's fair to assume a lot's going on there. And I don't know where we go from here, but they need some resolution quickly. I do think that.